All righty. All right. Welcome to another edition of Vegas Badboyz of podcasting. I'm your boy, DJ Impact. I got here Sin City Steve and Simon Street with us. We don't have Matt Michaels as he's finally finishing up on some break time, but we should have him back next week. But this is our 3 count. So we thank you all for joining us. And as you see to put your comments into our Facebook feed, feel free, and we'll try to get that on as we can. So with that, we'll jump right into our 3 count. The first one comes from ProWrestlingNewsHub.com, and it's titled AEW Outdrew WWE in Average Number of Fans Attending Shows. It says that Dave Meltzer noted on a recent edition of Wrestling Observer newsletter that AEW outdrew WWE this past month in terms of fans attending their shows on an average basis significantly. But the month of October looks to be a close battle between both promotions, as neither of them really have a major pay-per-view event coming up. With AEW's Full Gear pay-per-view taking place next month and WWE's Crown Jewel going down in Saudi Arabia. The official Twitter account of WrestleTix also reveals some interesting facts and numbers on social media of AEW's average attendance figures for the month of September, which was 9,676 fans, while the WWE's average attendance figures for the month of September was 7,772 fans. And AEW shows inside Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens, New York, and the Prudential Center in Newark, New Jersey is what made the big difference in the company's strong performance this past month. And to conclude, it says WrestleTix also revealed that AEW outdrew the WWE in the city of Cincinnati, Ohio, during the month of September, with Meltzer noting that Raw had 5,470 fans, 43 fans on September 27th, while Dynamite on September 8th has 6,500 paid fans. And you can check the tweet out that they had on there as well. So, guys, look, there's always going to be this sort of let's compare between what one promotion is doing and what the other one's doing. I don't know, man. I kind of have I had a whole rant on Dave Meltzer on my voices in my head, and I can go right into that even with this particular topic. But first, before I do that, let me allow our analysts that really can break things down with their thoughts. Let me go over to you first, Sin City Steve. What's your take on this? I mean, yes, AEW is definitely selling seats, but are we really convinced now that AEW is just now pulling in more fans to their shows than WWE? And even when you compare Crown Jewel, how can you? Crown Jewel compared to, what do they say, Full Gear? Crown Jewel is a stadium show, isn't it?
It's a stadium show in Saudi Arabia, yeah. Right.
So if you're going to compare to seats, people paying money for seats to come to shows, that out long, and just forget the regular Raws and SmackDowns or whatever, that alone will, I would think, outdo what AEW is doing if that's how they're counting it. So I'm confused when they say October showing very strong for AEW, but you tell me what your thoughts is on this, brother.
So realistically speaking, I thought that it was very interesting that AEW ran Cincinnati at the beginning of September, and then WWE ran Raw at the end of September. Now, here's something of note. We actually had mentioned it in the past how due to an agreement that was in place with WWE, the building that AEW wanted to run in Cincinnati was actually the Heritage Bank Center, which has a capacity of 17,500. That building was the building that WWE ran Monday Night Raw on, just this past week.
Yeah.
To that show, they drew a total of 5,400 tickets sold. Okay. out of 17,500. Now, obviously, AEW had to settle for the Fifth Third Center, Fifth Third Arena. And the Fifth Third Arena has a capacity of 12,000 seats. Of those 12,000 seats, they sold 6,500. So realistically, is it too much to think that it's, that AEW's outdrawing WWE? At first glance, yeah, you could think that. Mm-hmm. You could think that. But realistically, this is one sample size. This is one city. This is one venue. This is one date. It is of note that in the same market in the same month, AEW did have more paid attendance to their show. Mm-hmm. But I think that unless it becomes a thing where this is happening on a regular basis, come on, man. As well as I do, WWE has nothing to worry about for the time being, and especially because they're getting that sweet Saudi blood money that, I mean, their profit and loss statement, I mean, it's just going to reflect it. So, right. They're going to be continuing to make money hand over fist. So their profit and loss sheets are going to be exactly where they need to be. And I think it is of note though, that AEW they're starting to build momentum. They've had momentum and they are continuing on. With the signings and, bringing everybody in, people can try to downplay it all they want, that it's nothing major that they're bringing in these names. But I get a feeling that AEW has this sort of cult-like mystique to it as ECW did in the late 90s. I see a almost direct parallel to the rabid fan base, to the performers that actually love going to work there every single day. There are very, very few that, you hear that have even one negative word. I think the only person who's come out and, spoken about how they've been used poorly is Brian Cage. But it's one of those things that, I think AEW is building some momentum, but to make it out to be anything more than that, it's just playing in for clickbait.
Right. It sounds like that. Simon Street, what's your take on this when you read this, with the highlight being that, as it says, AEW outdrew WWE in average number of fans attending shows. Oh, you have your mute on,
bro.
Got it. Sorry about that. When I first kind of looked at it without doing any further type of research, I wanted to look at this just from a broad perspective. I started looking at what is the draw for AEW in comparison to WWE. Now that's a question that a lot of people obviously have thrown their opinions into play and go far in between. But I tried to make it as simple as possible. I thought about, why would I, if I had the time to fit AEW into watching throughout the week, which I barely can fit in what I watch now. But if I were to completely switch, not watch NXT and just watch AEW, right? Would I do it? And I couldn't say no immediately. And the reason why I say that is because I say, what does AEW offer me? A good blend of different type of wrestling styles. Anytime that I have actually tuned in to AEW just to watch it for a little bit, or if I'm sitting at somebody's house and happen to be watching it, I can bet my bottom dollar that it's always going to be a mix of different type of wrestling styles of multitude. So that's first and foremost. So why wouldn't mind switching if I had to? Okay. Another thing that I saw, and that comes off the bat from even when they started, was creative control by most of their talent. That has not only been proven fact from the time that they started, but they've been somewhat, for the most part, consistent more times than none, which you are able to see different perspectives and more engaging storylines, just my opinion. So that's another reason why I wouldn't mind switching if I could. Another thing is they actually have taken the time to actually give younger talents the spotlight. You know what I mean? Like Darby Allin's a huge one, and this is from me. I don't even watch AEW regularly. And I thought that was cool that they gave it to him. You know, we make fun of him and say he's undersized, you know, but he brings something to the table that, you know, I enjoy seeing. And then the one biggest thing is I really feel like AEW is not afraid to make mistakes and change them. Not that WWE doesn't, but WWE can afford to make those mistakes and then pour a whole bunch of money to fix it. AEW really, yeah, they may have that money because they got them contracts, but they're not afraid to try new things. And if they fall flat on their face, almost every time, you've talked about it since City Steve, they have tried to make it right, which means they give a shit about their fans. So these are the things of why it only makes sense, getting back to our article, why AEW has more people attending events than WWE. Because people want to consume a product that they can guarantee on, especially in these times, even though we have not, or in light of the pandemic, we still have not gotten to the point to where we have expendable amounts of income. Do you see what I'm saying? As you all know, a lot of people ain't getting that unemployment check no more. So they're counting them pennies and they're making sure if I'm going to spend my money going into an event for entertainment, I want to make sure I get what I paid for. And I feel that AEW at this point will undoubtedly give me what I'm looking for. Do you see what I'm saying? Then with WWE, maybe 3/4 of the time, maybe you get 80% of the time. They'll give us that.
Well, let me say this, Simon Street. For starters, I mean, I can see if you're in line with saying that this might be why AEW has been increasing the fans coming to the shows. I see what you mean, but don't get it twisted in terms of that there are still more people attending AEW shows than WWE events, because that is just not the case, period. Yes, they are trending to have a positive, having bigger numbers come to their shows, but by no means are they on a regular basis doing this. And let me just read a comment here from John. He says ticket prices might have something to do with it too. AEW Dynamite was half the cost of Monday Night Raw with a closer view. And that part is true too, because I was looking at possibly going, it was just a quick thought of mine, going to SmackDown in Ontario for October 15th. And I went to look at tickets, and if I want to sit in the around the ring, it's $250. If I want to sit at the very top where I can change a light bulb, it's $20. But if I decide I want to go to AEW on the same night, which on the 15th, they're going to be at James L. Knight Center in Miami on the 15th. If I want to sit ringside or even sit closer to the front, it's $90. $90 to $250 is definitely a big difference. So, if a person had a choice, that could definitely be a reason why as well. But I know that this article is not terminate in terms of that. They're making it seem as if what you were saying, Simon, that it's just better interest of more people wanting to be a part of AEW to WWE, and I have to disagree with that. But
you better be prepared, because I'm telling you right now, that huge wave ain't just something that Sin City Steve's talking about every week. That's something that you see it in social media. You're starting to see that population grow. And I'm seeing it from the standpoint of a person that's not all in, no pun intended, AEW guy. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. I'm for the most part, I watch what the hell I like. But, AEW is something that, I'm starting to regret not being able to watch them every week. And if I had time, I would watch them. You see what I'm saying? And there's other people that probably feel the same way. And so that's not to say that AEW will beat WWE, because WWE is this huge franchise of a monster. But I will say that AEW so far in wrestling history in our lifetime span is the perfect example of what a quality option of wrestling for us fans would look like. Just being completely honest. And to me, they're clicking all the right boxes as that example. So one day you'll hear me chime into y'all and say, man, I watched both AEW shows and be all in it. But that'll only be because either I turned off NXT 2.0 or I just have more free time on my hands to actually want to use that free time I have to watch AEW, because I find it exciting. I find it offering more than what a lot of people want to say AEW does.
Yeah. Shout out to Chris. He said when he saw AEW Dynamite in February 2020, he paid $75 for a seat next to the ramp. It's funny because when Money in the Bank was here, and I think I probably had told you this, Simon Street, as I guess I was probably smoking on something, but there was a ramp seat I was like, dude, they got a ramp seat, but it's only $3,000. I'm like, can I pull that off? And when I had that moment, because I think I was telling you, Simon, you was pretty much saying, well, I won't be next to you. I'll be elsewhere. And, and I'm like, I think this is going to be very hard to convince my wife because if she was to come, that would be $6,000. And I don't know how that's going to convince anybody. But hell, people must pay it because that ramp is fully packed. So I don't know where people get all this money. I'll just tell you.
Let me tell you this because I couldn't tell you that night. It started off at $3,000. Now, the friend I was telling you about that does listen to our show, he had a ramp seat, and it was, I think he said about $500. So it does go down exceedingly fast as you get closer to the event.
Oh, okay.
But I don't doubt that it started off as $3,000 just to see if somebody would bite on that bait.
Wow. All right, y'all. Well, thank you for that. That's our first count. Let's go right into our second. This is from WrestlingNews.co. It says WWE star says his promos will be unscripted on the main roster. So as we know, Hit Row has now moved over into the SmackDown brand. So let's just start from there. The article goes, AJ Francis, which is AKA Top Dollar, want fans to know that the same thing is not going to happen to Hit Row. Top Dollar says that their debut promo during a dark segment before SmackDown was not scripted, and he wants fans to not compare Hit Row to, quote, other people who couldn't transition to the main roster, end quote. Wow, that's big words there, Top Dollar. He tweeted, stop comparing us to other people who couldn't transition to the main roster. We can promo. Thanks, management. And then in a follow-up tweet, he said, last night we cut a promo unscripted like every promo we've ever cut. We made us. Stop talking about things you don't know. Then the article just goes, hopefully WWE does not make too many changes to the group because they're one of the bright spots on NXT brand. Top names like Roman Reigns, Edge, Paul Heyman are given more leeway with their promos, but that is not guaranteed for everyone. And if the plan is for Hit Row to be unscripted, those plans can always change. And hopefully they're able to stay true to the NXT characters. Well, guys, I will say this. I saw as they kicked off before we knew they were going over to SmackDown. If you watched NXT 2.0 on Tuesday, they start off the show. And what I thought was very interesting, I don't know if you guys noticed, you probably did, but as they were doing their promo in the ring, everything that they were saying was in a rhyme.
But they do that all the time on NXT. That's their thing.
They do, right, exactly. And so I'm going, wow, this is pretty cool. And if this is what's going to happen on SmackDown as well, where they can be unscripted, this might work for them. Not everyone can do that, Simon Street, according to Top Dollar. Do you think being unscripted is going to be something that's going to be successful for a Hit Squad? Or do you think maybe there should be some scripting somewhere involved in their new position?
I mean, at the end of the day, obviously management must trust them. Obviously, they've proven themselves while they've been on NXT that they can drop bars. Mm-hmm. They are quality bars. They're not like no disrespect to the Usos, but before Hit Row, we had the Usos, and before the Usos, we had John Cena. So that's a huge far cry from the first two I just gave you with John Cena and the Usos. So at the end of the day, Top Dollar definitely can call his shot like that and say at the end of the day, don't compare us because we're bringing something new to the game. We come in to the shooting range with a loaded chamber and we're ready to shoot off. And promos is what the ammunition we got. And at the end of the day, bars are hot. The wrestling is hot. The group is hot. They on SmackDown. Fox wanted their ass. So they ready to do it. So, I mean, he's rightfully could say that 100%.
City, why do you think there are some that I guess can do well being unscripted and why others maybe can't be trusted with being scripted? I guess if you're coming from NXT, of course, we know that's developmental, but I think you could still say that even in the main shows that there are people that are still being scripted. Why do you think, some have more of that leeway than others?
So many more people are scripted on the main roster shows.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things that, they got away from doing bullet points after the Ruthless Aggression era.
Mhm.
And it definitely shows. I can't tell you how many times people cut promos where I'm sitting there watching them and I'm just thinking, holy shit, nobody on this planet talks like this. Why are you saying this shit the way that you are? It's fucking stupid.
Right.
And
like Randy Orton for years.
Right. No shit, man. It's crazy though. Like some people, they feel that they need to write every word for, and that they need to treat it like a script.
Yeah.
There are some people that they give them the creative leeway to trust them. And I think that it speaks volumes that they're trusting Hit Row.
I know.
Something that is really kind of looking at this, it makes it look like as if it wasn't a coincidence that they had AJ Francis run the collectibles show, or the show on A&E, because they had him be a show host, and that built rapport and trust in him to communicate the message that they want for him to communicate. So I think that it's great, and I'm very happy to see that they're going to allow these guys to roll without a script, maybe give them some bullet points of some things that they need to say, and keep it moving. That's how I think everyone should be. For years, most of the promos were bullet points. In WWE, WWF, WCW, ECW, hell, and today with AEW. All of those promos are bullet points. And it's up to that person that's delivering the promo to actually give life to those words. That needs to happen across the board, man. Don't script every little word for everybody. It's monotonous. It's ridiculous. And it doesn't need to be done.
Yeah. I mean, I wish I sometimes can, we've seen so many shows of how wrestlers get into training when they're developing to become wrestlers. We see them going through the exercising and the, all the different things it takes to get a body prepared for that. But you rarely get to see, what it takes when it comes to working on promos. And I'm guessing that's just got to be probably some of the biggest challenges for talent, because you got to be believable. You got to sound believable. You got to, come out there and just be ready for anything and whatever. And so I'm excited to see what's going to come from. I'm excited, and also I'll say it, scared, because I like Hit Row, but I also know they're now on Fox, and everything's going to be watched and looked at and judged. And so
they are now under a microscope.
Right. Yes. So I'm like, guys, just knock it out of the park. That's all I'm saying. All right. Thank you there. That's our second count. Let's go to our third count. This one's from WrestlingNews.co. Also, this says Shane McMahon no longer involved in WWE. And the title goes like this. The segment goes, it says Wrestling Inc. and Fightful or reporting that the word going around on Shane McMahon is that he's no longer involved in WWE. Wrestling Inc. reported that he is no longer under contract, but WWE insists that he is still a WWE talent and under a deal. It's also noted that he is rarely seen at the WWE office anymore. It's unclear what this means for the future in pro wrestling business, but this is what happened before. McMahon stepped away in 2009 and had no involvement in WWE till he returned in 2016. And during his return, he was only contracted as a talent and not part of management when he left 2009, and reportedly because of a falling out with his father, Vince McMahon. Then it said that the Godfather recently stated that Shane owns a cannabis co-op in California, so he has his hands and other business away from WWE. So I just thought, what I thought was pretty funny about this story. I'm saying, oh, Shane has to be contracted, like for talent. I don't know. We just, I don't know. I was when I think of Shane, I go, you're kind of the owner.
Does he really though? Does he really?
Well, that's kind of how it makes it seem. I mean, I wonder what is he really Vince's son or is he adopted? I mean, what's going on with Shane? But what was your guys' take on this when you read this? I mean, we hadn't seen him in a while, but I mean, should he still be contracted? Why is he not contracted? Does he need to be contracted? Guys, what's your take?
Well, I'll go ahead and take a stab at this one.
Yeah.
It's not abnormal for me because there's long periods of time where Shane goes missing for probably years. It's only just before the pandemic that he came back and was like on a 6-month rotation. So he'd be gone for 6 months, I would say, and then come back. And then, even for a while, they'd have Stephanie and Hunter's ass, mostly Stephanie. She'll pop up every once in a blue moon. I think it's just the transition that they're taking in general because they don't need to show up. But like the article said too, I mean, if there is any truth to what the Godfather stated, that he is running a cannabis co-op in California. Yeah. I mean, first and foremost, the Vegas Badboyz definitely want some of your homegrown's finest, Shane. So, real talk, we'll come on and give us some.
Be a sponsor, for us.
Yeah, be a sponsor. But besides that, we'll probably see Shane come back. And when the music hits, here comes the money. Here we go. We'll be like, oh, he's back, just like we always do.
Yeah, Sin City. I don't know. It's just funny to hear that. He actually has to be contracted as talent, and again, I just never would have thought, like, even if I owned a business that my son, I got to contract him to be in, and it'd be like, boy, get in there. This is your business too. You're pretty much another hand of me. That's kind of how I always thought of Shane and Vince, although I do know about that falling out and also understand how I guess we've always heard that Steph was the one that was kind of running Raw during the times. But still, I mean, I don't know. What's your take on this whole thing when you kind of looked at it?
So I don't read anything into this whatsoever.
Okay. Yeah.
As you mentioned, there was the falling out between Vince and Shane, and Stephanie and Hunter essentially, just assumed that they're next in command. So there for the longest time, Shane was off TV. He had nothing to do with the business, anything of that nature. And it's only been very recently when he's come back to TV that he has been back with WWE, but that was strictly in a talent role. He wasn't doing anything behind the scenes with the company whatsoever. He was strictly an on-air talent.
Wow.
So yeah. So yes, it's the family business, all that kind of stuff. Yes, he's Vince's son, but realistically, unfortunately, he doesn't factor into the long-term plans for that company. And maybe he's finally, I don't want to say finally, but maybe he's realizing that, and, he wants to just, focus on his business ventures. And if they want to bring him back as on-air talent again, then they'll reach out to him. And obviously he'll leap at the opportunity to throw himself off of a 50-foot fucking scaffold and crash through a table or whatever the fuck stunt that they're going to have him do.
Yeah.
So,
wow. Yeah. I mean, just the fact he does those type of moves, you go like, you should have to do that. I mean,
why are you doing this? Right. Why are you tempting death?
Right. Man. One day, we're gonna have to we have to sit down with Shane and find out what's really going on with the family, man.
He need to bring some of his some green with him too.
Hope you're talking about the money green.
Of course.
Oh, okay.
No, man. Bring that green so we get on the rotation.
Oh, man. All right, guy. Yeah. There you go. Oh man. Well, guys, thanks. That's our 3 count for tonight. Thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna let you guys get your final thoughts for tonight. But again, as I want to let you guys know, thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. And as always, we're trying to entertain you as best as we can. We'll have Matt Michaels back next week, where he's going to be so rested up. I think he's going to come ready to just, slap those heads as he sees fit.
You ain't touching my head.
Matt Michaels will be back next week, full of piss and vinegar, ready to annihilate the Smarks.
There you go. All right. With that, Simon Street, what would you like to tell the wonderful people out there?
I want to tell everybody, at the end of the day, always try your best to be your best version of yourself and treat people with respect. Especially in a world where we have tons of people who have different opinions and different things of how they viewpoint their life. Respect that. If they are not messing with you, leave them the fuck alone. Because at the end of the day, the last thing that we need is people bitching and complaining about other people and what their opinions are. We all have assholes. We all have opinions. So let us be.
And usually all of them stink.
That's true. I know mine do every once in a while.
Oh, boy. Sin City, what you want to tell the good people out there?
Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you to everyone in the chat. Thank you guys for liking, sharing, subscribing, all the great shit that you guys do. Very special thank you to every brave man and woman serving this country, whether you're on lands foreign or domestic. We appreciate you. Thank you for what you do. And last but not least, repsports.com, reppsports.com. Go there for all your pre-workout, weight loss, and general energy needs. Repsports.com, promo code Vegas at checkout. Save yourself 15%.
Absolutely. Every Wednesday, the DeFalco Files is released. Make sure you get a chance to take a listen to that. It's one of our hottest shows that we have on our podcast. And you get a chance to hear some of the inner workings of how it is being inside of an indie wrestling promotion. And you actually have the owner, Joe DeFalco, there, who just explains a lot of stuff that I tell you, you would just kind of be amazed, and you might even get excited. You might be someone who's been really interested in getting into the business. This would be a good time for you to really listen, and you may find yourself wanting to come out and try out. So why not? With that, thank you for hanging out. We will see you next week. Until then, take care. Peace.